good, right? So in this situation, it's, I give up. I can't hold out for 8 hours. Nothing short of that will do any good. So, okay, I give, So immediately, So it's got to be, well, it's conscientiousness as appropriate, and these appropriateness judgments. What's your responsibility? So the story about, the simple-minded story about deservingness as conscientiousness starts getting ramified and, maybe shaky right from the very beginning. So maybe I'm just going to agree. Yes, I think I owe you a story about the luckism component of the doctrine that I haven't really told you here, and I'm not sure I'm fully able to carry out.
Okay, let's take another couple of questions. Could you pull down the mic so it's here?
Mm-hmm.
I enjoyed your talk immensely and the arguments. However, I have some question. For instance, it seemed to me a very interesting and deep argument about logical distribution according to certain axioms that you can set on the table. But how would this be different if this deals with human beings rather than dealing with other entities, mathematical entities that you have to satisfy certain needs, commodities, and so on? For instance, there was a recent article about a book by a person in Cambridge University, I think Baron Cohn is the name, who does theory of mind, and then he has measured scales of empathy. There is zero empathy versus higher empathy or over empathy. So zero empathy may be zero minus, he calls myself sociopath. Zero plus may be autistic, who can be extremely good scientists, mathematicians, but are only confined in themselves. And there are oversensitive who would give everything of themselves to the other because they feel the psychological need to please another person. So what is a human being is very critical to me in the sense what empathy that person has in order to share the goods of the party with others. So if we are to make a theory, we have to consider who are the human beings. Recently, there have been some Nobel Prize in economics in Cannes, I think in Princeton, about irrational decision-making by human beings or the psychology of economics. So it seems to me that somehow the previous talk on what is justice and this one have to be adjusted to the psychology of the human beings, and not only abstractly as a mathematical set of how can we distribute. It is like having a thermodynamic equilibrium, and in this thermodynamic equilibrium, we consider what is the best way. We have a good amount of a big pie, and how do we distribute? But things are non-equilibrium, and there are all kinds of people and so on. So it seems to be a very complex system.
Yeah, I mean, one thing I want to say here is that, look, I mean, one question is, I mean, we're interested in implementation, but implementation is complicated and takes actual knowledge of the facts, including, as your remarks bring out, actual knowledge of human beings, warts and all, with their actual decision-making processes, right? And so I'm interested in a particular piece of the puzzle, trying to think about the principles that are right. I mean, would those principles motivate people? That's a completely different issue. Maybe not. I can imagine sitting down with people. We might think about, what would be just and fair. At the end of this could include a mafia don. We might all agree. And at the end of the day, he might say, yes, so here's justice and fairness. Am I interested in doing that? No. My desires go in another direction. So the question of what reasons there are and where they point to us, and we think out the question, what do we owe one another? That seems to be completely separate from the question about what makes us tick and what will motivate us. The question, if we were interested in implementing, then one's interested in implementing with actual human beings, and so we need levels of moral thinking. But these are just different things. I mean, for instance, to give you the Kahneman-Tversky point, I mean, as Kahneman firstly pointed out, there are deep, tendencies towards what has to be irrational decision-making in humans. I mean, just framing effects. You give people what's, by any sensible normative standard, the same decision, the same A and A star, where A and A star are the same. And people will robustly go for one choice rather than another, given the frame. So as Kahneman points out, the behavioral decision theory, empirical, the story of what causes human decisions is one thing. The normative theory, what are the right decisions in a given circumstance? That's a completely different enterprise. Not that they have no connections, but they're just different enterprises. I mean, we can't infer from the correct empirical theory of causal decision making how people ought to make what's the right decisions, because we know already from from causal decision theory that people make things that are completely irrational. So these are just different. So I'm kind of, these are just different topics. I mean, am I missing your question?
But when you say right decisions, you have to define the right with respect to what? I am achieving this. What is the objective function? And so right means achieves that objective function.
Right. I don't claim to have done anything more than sketch a picture here. I don't claim to have given convincing justification for it. That's completely right.
Okay, let's try to fit in one more question, Aaron.
Eric Campbell in the graduate program. But maybe this is, I'm not sure if this is a version of like a Mafia Don objection, a nicer version of it. So I know, maybe we don't have time to talk about what kind of, so I guess let me just say I find the objective list view really implausible, especially if it's supposed to be, I guess you could have two objective list views. One, relativized to individuals, given psychological or characterological facts about people, then maybe there's objective lists, and it could be objective in the sense that even if they think something's good for them, they could be wrong, right? But the wrongness is relational to particular facts about those people. That kind of objective list I find at least pretty plausible, maybe even just right. But one where it's applied to everybody seems the same objective list for everybody, no matter what their attitudes, I find it really implausible. And so I wonder, it seems like there could be people with pretty deep differences, especially once they get older and have more facts about them settle into place. There could just be relational facts about people such that for some person, certain things are going to result in good lives for them, and for other people, there'll be different things. And it also seems like there may be relational facts about me such that some kind of people, what's good for them, I just may not care about as much as other people. So there may be certain people who, and not because I know them, but just because I care about certain kinds of people more than other kinds of people, and it's not clear why I shouldn't, my reasons for contributing to either the capability sets or the welfare of certain people might not be much greater or much less than for other kinds of people. So the reason why maybe a Mafia Don objection is just because the Mafia Don didn't care about justice. I'm not sure the best way to characterize this is not caring about justice, but if you wanted to characterize it that way, that would be fine with me, if it's the case that justice has built into it some presupposition in favor of caring equally about everybody, no matter what kind of person they are, then we'll find that I don't care about justice. But
but look, I mean, I don't claim to have answered a deep skeptic about morality. I mean, I think of myself as contributing to the topic. So we make these moral, we're inclined to say things like, this is right, this is wrong, this is just, this is unjust. What's the best sense we can make of that? At the end of the day, there'll be a discussion with the skeptic, and how that discussion will go. I mean, that's got to be an open question. But on the objective list and design, I mean, first of all, I mean, my view is actually maybe more implausible than you think. I mean, I think epistemically we may not have much access to it, but I think metaphysically there's one objective list, not just for humans. I mean, I think it would be a great thing for my cat if he could learn physics. It would be a great achievement. It would make his life go a lot better. So but however, it doesn't mean that the cat's life plan should include physics. I mean, and this is the same thing is true for us, right? You know, so in terms of deciding my life plan, how I should live, my desires, the desires I have now, the desires I expect to have, what I reasonably think I can wiggle myself into desiring, you know, will make an enormous difference, you know, to what an actual life plan that would make sense for me is, even on an objective list view. Because, for instance, just as if I have no talent for philosophy, I shouldn't become a philosophy professor. If I have no desire, I ask myself, I wake up in the morning, and as a philosopher, I'm supposed to do some work. But I find that when I wake up in the morning, I don't have such desires. I just don't. Well, then the idea that, you know, then this isn't going to be the right career for me, right? In making life plan choices, the desires that I have to be taken as important determinants for what's a sensible life plan. Because the idea that, you know, I mean, I could say, oh, it would be great for me to save the poor in Calcutta. But if I have no desires that mesh with that, the idea that I could do anything except make a mess of everything by going off to save the poor in Calcutta is just not on, right? You know, so desires will play an enormously important role in the enterprise. They won't be picking out what are the ultimate goals that one should be striving for. So there's enormous relativization, but the relativization comes at the level of people's circumstances are different, people's talents are different, people's personalities are different, people's desires and the shape of their preferences and stuff is enormously different, and that makes, you know, all the difference for what sort of life plan actually makes sense. So that can be, so what's the life plan for will be enormously relative to individuals and relative to individuals at a time of their lives and so on. So that's not answering your objection, but just sort of clarifying where we disagree, and, you know, and how I would take into account some of the things you're appealing to.
I think it's a good place to stop.
Okay.
Is this one okay?